We were hoping to have some media here today, but obviously it's not that important that people are dying. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're out here honoring those and commemorating those who have died over the last 9 years, both soldiers and civilians. I'm Elaine Brower, and I'm with Peace Action Staten Island and Military Families Speak Out. And we're going to act as our own media today, independent journalists at work. Today we're here on the Ocean Breeze Fishing Pier, and behind me are about 234 markers representing the soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen who were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan over the last 9 years. In New York State only, nationally, the total right now is over 5,050 dead in Iraq and Afghanistan. And to the right of that are the markers representing just a fraction of Iraqi civilians that were killed in the last 7 years of occupation and invasion of Iraq. And we have the Fellowship, Fellowship for Reconciliation, to thank for that wonderful exhibit. It represents over 1.2 million civilians killed in Iraq. But today we have about 1,300 markers out there with names on them. So I want to just start by introducing our first guest speaker today, and we're very happy to have Ed Josie here, who is the president of the Staten Island chapter of the NAACP.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're gathered here today, Memorial Day 2010, to honor and pay recognition to those who have gone to war, lost their lives, also to their family and friends who also suffered equally as well because of their death in the war. Now, this day goes back to after the Civil War, when they started having what they call Declaration Day. That was a day that they set aside to pay homage to those who lost their lives in the Civil War. And to this day, it's 150 years later, we're still observing that same concept we call Memorial Day. And it's sad, but we must say that when people go to war, not only might they lose their lives or get maimed or whatever, or just get injured, but their families suffer equally. Now, I know of a fella who just died a few weeks ago. Now, I remember his brother got killed during the Vietnam War back in the 60s. And my friend Chris, he mourned for his brother up until the day that he passed away a few weeks ago. Now, his life was in shambles all that time because he lost his brother in the war. And I do pay respect and homage and really glorify those who made that supreme sacrifice. Now, in most cases, they went to war not because they wanted to go to war, but because the country sent them to war. There might have been a few who wanted to go, but by and large, they were sent to war by this nation. And most wars are not something that the poor people and the community created, something that the rich people have started. I don't think I can recall any war that the poor man started and financed. It was mostly done by rich people. And, I often wonder why is we continually come here every year and pay honor to those who lost their lives, but we continue to have wars. So I would suspect and hope that someday we might really take this day and really make it a day to really stand for something and cease a war, because we're here every year, we're out here doing the same thing, recognizing those who have passed away. Now, I went on to Google the other night, and I wanted to find out the reason, definition, or purpose behind war. Now, I pretty much got out of it that a war is something in which victory is the main object. Now, in most cases, you have a stronger body trying to put their will upon the weaker body, which they will pretty eventually just beat and take over and run the weaker person's life. So that's pretty much the definition I got when I saw the definition of war. Now, just recently I was watching this program on TV in which a aircraft carrier was named after President Ronald Reagan. Now, this aircraft carrier was huge in size, And they also went forth to say that this aircraft carrier costs about 500 people to run that ship. Now, that ship can carry about 50 aeroplanes and bombs and all kinds of armament to create destruction. And this ship cost it cost a fortune. Every one of those planes cost a fortune. And there's maybe 50 planes in that ship. And every bomb that is dropped from those planes costs a fortune. So now, I pretty much said to myself, right now New York State's in a big budget crisis. It's always New York City. Now, if that ship had not been built the way it was built, all that fortune, and all those planes were not built, and all those bombs were not built, that money could come to New York City someplace, or some other city or whatever, and perhaps get the budget straightened out. Now, take that whole concept. For every piece of military equipment you have out there, this country might be in a whole lot better financial straits if we could just drop the war, drop all these ships and planes, and just put that money toward improving the communities. But the most basic thing I would say is we're here again 2010 to observe Memorial Day, and I would hope that with all the people who lost their lives that we might decide at some point that we've had enough wars and pay real homage to those who lost their lives and stop wars. Thank you.
Next, I want to introduce Patricia Berg. She's representing Peace Action of Staten Island today.
Welcome to all of you. Peace Action Staten Island is honored to support Military Families Speak Out of New York, the Fellowship of Reconciliation, Veterans for Peace, the American Friends Service Committee, and Movement for a Democratic Society in this Memorial to Life, Arlington, New York State. I found myself rushing between a brief visit from England by my adult daughter and son-in-law and the somber and urgent feelings stirred by these symbols of other people's loved ones who were sent deliberately to agonizing and premature death. I thought about how my husband and I love our daughter, now in her 20s, and that each death in war involves someone who was probably that loved by someone, by what is now a heartbroken family. Death is an inevitable part of life, that is certain, but deliberate, targeted deaths, deaths of healthy young soldiers, innocent children, deaths by weaponry and strategy, deaths in the cause of profit or territory or ideology, these deaths are obscene. We have the technological capacity to do unspeakable harm. But we must draw upon our intelligence to create workable, humane alternatives. Peace Action Staten Island is a small but growing force for good, one unit of a national coalition to maintain the movement that will one day stop the insanity of murdering the innocent as the way to settle differences. We can and must do that work. Come join us if that hope resonates in your hearts. Let me conclude with an excerpt from Martin Luther King's Nobel Prize acceptance speech. We will not build a peaceful world by following a negative path. It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but on the positive affirmation of peace. Thank you.